I want to talk about Israel for a minute. Donald Trump was the biggest defender of Israel in the history of the Israeli state. Obama and Biden were the worst allies that Israel ever had. And they sided frequently with Israel's enemies. In fact, they cut off the supply of arms to Israel when Israel was under attack at one point. They gave the most heinous speech on their way out against the state of Israel, and they treated the prime minister like crap. Donald Trump changed all that. In September, just 7 or 8 short months ago, peace was breaking out. Peace deals were being signed on the south lawn of the White House. Israel was on the precipice of having a peace agreement with Saudi Arabia. Now look. Biden comes in and he has surrounded himself with more Israel haters than there are fans in Yankee Stadium. They're Obamaites and worse. And what do they decide to do? Immediately give hundreds of millions of dollars to the Palestinians, which Trump had cut off because they wouldn't commit to not using the money for terrorism. What else do? They're looking to fund and support the Iranian regime, which is trying to have long-distance missiles with nuclear warheads that can not only hit Israel, but the United States. This Iron Dome stops about 90% of the missiles. Can you imagine if one nuclear missile gets through? Well, our enemies see this. Joe Biden is the greatest president, not for our allies, but for our enemies. Hamas sees it. Islamic Jihad sees it. The Palestinian terrorists see it. That's why they're doing what they're doing. The communist Chinese see it. They thumb their nose at Biden. Putin sees it. They all see it. It's a much more dangerous world as a result of Biden being in the Oval Office. He is absolutely pathetic. One final word to you, Joe Biden. The Israelis have been hit with 1,500 missiles produced by the Iranians. They're aiming at their population centers, whereas the Israelis are trying not to. And the best you can say, Joe Biden, is the Israelis have the right to defend themselves. The Israelis don't need you, who've been in Washington for half a century, to tell them that they have a right to defend themselves. The Jews have been defending themselves for 4,000 years without your permission. Why don't you state out front tomorrow, we stand with our ally Israel and against the terrorists who are shooting missiles against them? Why don't you tell Tlaib and Omar and AOC in your party, these anti-Semite Marxists, why don't you lecture them about what they're having to say and so forth? Where is the Democrat Party today? You're destroying America. You're undermining our ally. And let me say it again. If Donald Trump were president, none of this would be happening. I'm done.